Pretty simple one. We're going to go over the stereo analog recorder. I also have a similar unit here in Cubase for comparison's sake. So with this unit, the first thing that I'm going to compare is the pre-EQ, which is similar to the EQ here. I'm not sure why these designers have decided to model this EQ the way they did, but obviously it has something to do with the way that these old analog recorders were back in the day. So right now I have noise going through what is essentially an initialized stereo analog recorder, and you can see that the EQ has no gain. And real fast, just to run through these other parameters, I have the speed on the slowest of 3 settings. I have 0 flutter, 0 noise, 0 density. My tone is at 100, and my click is at 0, and I'm on all the way wet. So this is a completely initialized stereo analog recorder. Likewise, here in Cubase, you can see that all my knobs are down and bypass is enabled, so this is also a completely initialized grunglizer, is what they call it in Cubase. So let's check out this EQ, and by default they have the frequency at 1.8K. So when I boost the gain, it will boost that frequency, and I have noise going through right now. You can see on our spectrum analyzer. So why don't I just go ahead and boost that gain. And I'll turn down the input gain here so it's not quite so gnarly. So it's a pretty normal band, what do I want to call it, parametric EQ. It's just a boost or attenuation, everything you'd get out of a regular parametric EQ. If I play this and then bypass it, and then throw on the grunglizer, and then play this and boost this EQ, we see that both EQs take place at around 2K. One is a little bit higher, being in Cubase, and then in the Kronos it's a little bit lower. I could have maybe done some research to figure out exactly why they designed these like that, but let's just, for now, just notice that that's the way it is. If I go high enough in the Cubase version, you can see that it does actually attenuate the noise into a sort of bandpass filter. Bypassing that and re-enabling our Kronos. We can actually kind of match it if we go up to 2K. I'm going to click back over here and actually do it on the Kronos so we don't lose our scopes. And then I'm going to increase the Q. Whoops. See, I'm at 2K and my Q. How high can we go? We can go all the way up to 10. Plus 18. So very similar results for that. Of course, since this EQ is so programmable, you don't have to make it boost at 2K, but it seems that if you want to mimic a stereo analog recorder, that's what you should do. Let's move on to our next unit, which will be the analog record itself. I'm going to put the EQ back to 0. So we have the choice of choosing 3 speeds, 33 1/3, 45, and 78. For now, I'll stick on 33 1/3, and what this parameter is going to do, it's going to control the rate of the flutter speed, and then it's also going to control the rate of the click. So if I go ahead and play this, and then put my flutter all the way up, since this parameter only makes sense in tandem with these, I'll have to demonstrate it alongside of them. So if I put my flutter up, you'll notice that the noise will undergo a notch filter. It'll sound like a phaser. So I'll go ahead and do that. At 100, we have full phaser going on. And I'm going to go ahead and actually boost the input gain to make this a little bit more noticeable. So when we adjust flutter, we are adjusting two parameters. We're adjusting the intensity and as far as like peak goes, and we're also adjusting the range. So notice when I reduce flutter, it's going up to about 4K here. It's also dipping down about a full block worth of dipping. So when I reduce this flutter, you can see it doesn't go up to 4K anymore, nor does it drop quite a full block. So we're at 52, we're at about half power. Go down. And then at 0, of course, we get no phasing going on. But then let me jump back up to 100. See how much it dips there. But then again, going down. At 36, it's hardly dipping down, nor is it does the phaser have the same range. I found that parameter pretty interesting because this unit actually doesn't have flutter. At least I wasn't able to find any. If I bypass the Kronos and then I enable this Grungalizer, yeah, there's no flutter control. We could turn up distortion, we could change the timeline, we could switch the speed. It won't do anything. Go like that. So there is something, even though this is not about the Grungalizer, but it is worth pointing out that this does have an alternating current hum that is not present in the Kronos stereo analog recorder. If you want to hear what that sounds like, I'd have to unbypass it, and it can be at I'll turn this down. It can be at 60 or 50 hertz. It actually appears to be about twice that. So this is at 135. Let's drop it down to 50. This is at 112. I didn't notice that. It says 50 and 60 hertz, yet it's higher than that. Let's boost it up and see if we can see any low harmonics. Nope. Interesting, that noise that I get when I turn the knob. It's almost like the knob itself has dust in it. Let's go ahead and turn that off. All right. Let's check out the speed, the rates per minute. So we have our standardized speeds. I'll go ahead and bypass this and then enable the Kronos. I'll turn the flutter all the way up, and then I'll adjust the speed to 45, and then 78. So that's rates per minute. It's kind of just like beats per minute. It's a number of cycles per minute. So you could think of that as like 78 BPM. It's happening 78 times in 1 minute. Let's look at the click. If I turn the click up all the way, you can see that all it is it's a full spectrum burst of noise. And that's happening at the rate of the RPM speed. So if I go all the way up to 78, let's see, we get more frequent clicks. Also, the full spectrum burst of noise is affected by the flutter for some reason. If I turn it down, you can see that the spectrum changes, the spectrum curve there, particularly at the high end. If I turn it all the way back up, you can see that we get a dip at around 5K-ish. Let's look at that actually in the scope. 5K. Let's look at the, well, actually, I think that pretty much covers, oh, well, we have our noise. So our noise, you can think of our noise section as its own independent section. It's kind of interesting how they fold these into each other. You'd almost think like the analog recording has an effect on both the noise and click, since these two parameters do have an effect on click. but I don't think it does. But let's investigate. So if we have our RPM speed at 78, our flutter at 0, let's go ahead and turn up the noise. Actually, you know what? Our flutter might have an effect on noise. Let's check. Yes, I do see it having a small effect on that. If I turn up density, yes, we hear flutter. Absolutely. So this nesting actually completely makes sense. So since speed controls the rate of flutter, and flutter is controlling a phasing type effect in noise, that is exactly why these are all connected. They are, however, independent of EQ. So density is really just turning up noise. It's not turning up necessarily the density of the clicks. If I bypass this, you can see that density is acting just like this noise parameter, which actually only matters if I don't have it on bypass. So the noise here is a lot more gentle. If I turn up crackle, you hear that. In this case, crackle is also affected by the RPM speed. It not only, I think it actually just imparts a different kind of EQ on the crackling. And it does also seem to impart a different kind of EQ on noise. Turn that down. Turn this up. No, it doesn't. It actually only imparts a kind of EQ on crackle. Anyway, these two parameters, crackle, is akin to, if I turn this on, noise level. It's really cool. I actually really like this. I like seeing the differences in how these two units are deciding to affect the sound. Actually going to bypass this and then re-enable this. So this is more of a full spectrum. There's not like those little... Oh, well, flutter was all the way up for this one. So actually, let me bypass this again and then turn on this and then turn down flutter. There we go. That's more full spectrum, straightforward full spectrum. Let me try changing the rate. Yeah, we get no difference in noise profile. Actually, no, there's no difference. Yep, no difference whatsoever. We only get a difference in noise profile if we turn up flutter, which would give us a flanging. And let's see, what else? I think the last thing that I want to check real fast is to see how any of these modules are affecting the timbre of a sound, if at all. I'm pretty sure that the stereo analog record is not actually coloring the sound other than with the EQ. This one in Cubase does have a distortion which will color the sound, the input signal, but also EQ will of course color it, but I'm pretty sure these leave it alone. But let's check it out. So this is with Cubase enabled and flutters on 0. Let's put noise on 0. This is essentially an initialized version. Let's start a drum kit. Let's turn up noise. No audible change. No audible change except for obviously masking. Oh yeah, density. If you turn that up and then turn noise level down, it will turn down both the crackle and the noise. Density is really just the same thing as a noise level. And then level in here is the same thing as crackle. And let's see it click. Put this on 78. Yep, it's just a full spectrum click. It's not actually changing like the volume of the input signal or anything like that. But if we change flutter, we do hear phasing going on. Cool. That's everything there is on the stereo analog recorder. Sorry I don't know more about the history of these units, like exactly why the hum is where it is, or exactly why it's boosting at around 2K, things like that. But you know, these are good things to Google and check out on your own. But yeah, thank you for watching this one. Take care.